In a cosy little house at the edge of a sleepy town, there lived two brothers who were exactly the same age, because they were twins. Their names were Max and Jax, and though they looked alike, with matching brown curls and gap-toothed smiles, they were different in one very important way. Max loved adventure more than anything, but Jax, sweet, thoughtful Jax, was sometimes afraid of new things. He worried about the dark, about deep water, and about anything he had never tried before. Every night before bed, their grandmother would tell them stories of a magical place called the Kingdom of Coral Glow, an underwater world where the coral shimmered in every colour of the rainbow, and creatures of all kinds lived in perfect peace. Jax loved the stories, but he always said the same thing. I could never go somewhere like that. It sounds too big and too deep. Max would squeeze his brother's hand and say, "One day, Jax, one day we'll go together." One summer evening, just as the sun melted into shades of pink and gold, Max and Jax wandered down to the stream behind their grandmother's garden. Jax was carrying something very special, a bright green leaf he had found beneath the old oak tree, wide and waxy and perfectly shaped. With careful fingers, he folded and creased it, tucking the corners just so until the leaf became a tiny, beautiful boat. He set it on the water and watched it bob gently, turning round and round in the quiet current. "I made it myself," Jax said proudly. "It's the best boat I've ever seen," said Max, and he truly meant it. The little leaf boat drifted slowly downstream, and without even thinking, both boys followed it, stepping carefully along the mossy bank. The stream grew wider, the water grew clearer, and the air began to smell of something sweet and salty all at once, like the sea after rain. Before either boy could say a single word, the ground beneath them shimmered like the surface of a soap bubble, and with a soft whoosh, everything changed. The sky became the ocean, the air became water, but the most curious kind of water, warm and glowing, that let them breathe as easily as if they were standing in a meadow. They were underwater. Towering above them in every direction were forests of coral, glowing in soft pinks, deep purples, vivid oranges, and the gentlest, most dreamy shade of blue. Fish with silver scales drifted past like floating stars. Sea turtles moved slowly overhead like living clouds. "We're here," Max breathed. "The Kingdom of Coral Glow." Jax reached for his brother's hand. His heart was beating fast, but he held on tight to the little leaf boat, which was somehow still floating, right there beside him, as if it had guided them safely to this place. "It's real," Jax whispered. "It's actually real." The two boys swam carefully through arching tunnels of lavender coral, following a path lit by tiny glowing creatures no bigger than fireflies. The lights blinked on and off in a soft, rhythmic pattern, almost like a lullaby in light. Sea anemones waved their feathery arms in a gentle hello. A family of seahorses floated past, their tiny fins fluttering like the pages of a book in a breeze. Jax felt something loosen inside his chest, the tight, worried knot that had been there when they first arrived. This place was strange and new, yes, but it was also wonderfully, undeniably beautiful. "Do you think something lives deeper in?" Max asked, peering down a long tunnel of coral that curved away into a soft golden glow. Jax swallowed. He wasn't sure, but he kept hold of his leaf boat, and he kept hold of his brother, and he nodded slowly. "Let's find out." Deep inside the heart of the coral forest, curled up beside a cluster of gently pulsing sea flowers, was the most extraordinary creature either boy had ever seen. It was a dragon, but not the kind from scary stories. This dragon was about the size of a large dog, with scales the colour of the ocean at sunrise, pale green and soft gold and shimmering silver. Its eyes were large and kind, like two warm lanterns. Its wings were folded against its sides, like the petals of a sleeping flower. It appeared to be dozing, snoring in tiny puffs that sent little streams of silver bubbles floating upward. "Is that a dragon?" Jax whispered. The dragon's ear twitched. One enormous eye blinked open. It looked at the boys. It sneezed, and out of its sneeze came an absolute explosion of glitter, gold and green and violet and rose, swirling through the water in great, sparkling clouds that drifted around them like the most magical snowflake storm imaginable. Both boys burst into laughter. "Oh, pardon me," said the dragon, in a voice like a cello played very, very softly. "I always sneeze when I wake up. It's frightfully embarrassing." "Don't be embarrassed," said Max, still giggling as a drift of gold glitter settled on his curls. "That was the most wonderful sneeze I have ever seen in my entire life." The dragon blinked, and then, slowly, shyly, it smiled. "No one has ever said that before," it said. "My name is Glow. I've lived in the kingdom of coral for as long as the coral has been glowing. I know every tunnel and every tide and every creature in the deep." "I'm Max," said Max, "and this is my brother Jax." Jax held up his leaf boat in a sort of shy wave. Glow leaned forward and examined it with great interest, her warm eyes growing wide. "A leaf boat," she said softly. "You must be a boy of great patience and great care to make something so lovely. In this kingdom, we believe that those who can make something beautiful from something simple are the bravest souls of all." Jax felt his cheeks go warm, the good kind of warm, the kind that meant something true had just been said. "I'm not always brave," he admitted quietly. "I'm afraid of a lot of things." Glow tilted her enormous head thoughtfully. "Do you know what I was afraid of?" she asked. The boys shook their heads. "I was afraid of sneezing," she said, "because every time I sneezed, the glitter went everywhere, and I thought everyone would laugh at me or be annoyed. So for a very long time, I hid down here alone and tried never to sneeze at all." Max looked at her. "But then what happened?" Glow smiled again, bigger this time. "One day, I simply couldn't hold it in any longer. I sneezed the most enormous sneeze, and do you know what? The entire coral forest lit up with my glitter, and every creature in the kingdom swam over to see. They said it was the most beautiful thing they had ever witnessed. I had been afraid of the very thing that made me wonderful." A long, peaceful silence settled around them, filled only with the soft hum of the glowing coral. Glow stretched her great wings slowly, and they shimmered like stained glass. "Would you like me to show you the rest of the kingdom?" she asked. "There is so much more to see." Jax felt the old nervousness flutter in his stomach. But this time, something else was there too, something steady and warm, like a light turned on in a dark room. He looked at the leaf boat in his hand. He had made that himself, from nothing but a leaf and his own careful hands. He had been brave enough to follow it here. He could be brave enough to keep going. "Yes," said Jax, and he meant it with his whole heart. Glow lowered herself gently, so both boys could climb onto her back, settling between her warm, shimmering wings as though they had always belonged there. With one slow, powerful sweep, she rose from the ocean floor and glided through the coral like a dream. The kingdom of Coral Glow unfurled around them in wonders beyond imagining. Glow swooped through a cathedral of rose-pink coral, so tall it disappeared into the distant shimmer above. They passed a garden where sea flowers opened and closed, like slow, happy hearts, each one glowing a different colour. They soared over a field of tiny, luminous jellyfish, drifting like paper lanterns at a festival. Jax held his leaf boat above his head, and the water streamed past it as Glow flew, making it sail as beautifully as if it were on the finest river in the world. Max whooped with delight. Jax laughed, a real, full, free laugh, the kind that bubbles up from somewhere deep inside and can't be stopped. "I'm not scared," Jax called out, over the rush of the warm water. "I'm not scared at all." "You never needed to be," said Glow gently. "You had it in you all along." Finally, Glow settled on a wide, flat shelf of pale coral near the very centre of the kingdom, where the glow was softest and the water was warmest. Around them, the coral pulsed in a slow, soothing rhythm, in and out, like the breathing of something enormous and kind. The sea flowers had closed for the night, and the tiny glowing creatures had dimmed to the faintest twinkle. Even the fish had stilled, hanging in the water in little sleepy clusters, their fins barely moving. "It's getting late in the deep," said Glow softly, folding her wings around the boys like a warm blanket. "The kingdom is going to sleep." Jax looked at his leaf boat, still perfectly whole, still perfectly afloat on the water before them. He felt a deep, bone-deep peacefulness, the kind that only comes after a great adventure bravely had. "Thank you, Glow," he said quietly, "for showing us everything." "Thank you for not laughing at my sneeze," she said, and her eyes glimmered with warmth. Max leaned against Glow's soft, warm side, and his eyelids grew heavy as the coral's gentle light pulsed slowly around them. "Do you think we'll remember this?" he murmured, his voice already thick with sleep. "The best adventures," said Glow, "always stay with you, even when you can't quite explain them." Jax held his leaf boat against his chest, cradling it gently. The glitter from Glow's sneeze still drifted through the water in slow, lazy spirals, gold and violet and rose, settling over everything like the softest, most magical snowfall. The coral hummed, the water rocked them, back and forth, as gently as a cradle. Jax felt his fear. The old tight knot was completely, entirely gone. In its place was something new and bright and steady. Courage, his very own courage, that had been there all along, waiting to be found. And so, in the soft, golden heart of the kingdom of Coral Glow, with a gentle dragon curled warmly around them, and a little leaf boat floating peacefully at their side, Max and Jax closed their eyes. Jax let out a long, slow yawn that seemed to come from the very tips of his toes, and Max yawned too, the way yawns always travel from one twin to the other, like a secret signal that it was finally, truly time to rest. The coral light dimmed to the faintest, most tender glow. Glow watched over them with her great warm eyes, and she sneezed one last tiny sneeze, sending a quiet cloud of silver glitter drifting down over the sleeping boys like a blessing, like a lullaby made of light. And Max and Jax, brave and peaceful and full of wonder, drifted off to sleep and dreamed of everything beautiful they had found when they stopped being afraid. Good night, brave ones. Good night.